Welcome. So glad you're here. Today, we're diving into a financial reality that literally shapes the lives of millions. We're looking at the truth about student loans in America. In this explainer, we're stripping away the jargon and bringing you straight facts about how student debt actually works. If you're the kind of person who likes to really untangle complex financial systems, well, you're in exactly the right place. Let's map this whole thing out, step by step. Okay, let's dive into this. Just imagine this scenario for a second. You've just graduated. You're super excited, ready to step out into the real world, apply that hard-earned degree, and finally start your career. But then, bam, reality hits. Before you've even cashed your very first full-time paycheck, you realize you already owe tens of thousands of dollars. Wild, right? But for millions of Americans, this isn't just some hypothetical thought experiment. It's their jarring, everyday reality. And it completely rewrites their early professional lives. It dictates where they can afford to live, what jobs they actually can take, and when, or even if, they can start building real wealth. But to really grasp how we got here, we've got to look at the environment that makes borrowing like this necessary in the first place.
So, moving to Section 1, the rising cost of college and why higher education is so incredibly expensive today.
To figure this out, we have to zoom out and look at the macroeconomic picture. The answer to why college costs so darn much isn't just one single thing. It's really a perfect storm of variables that have pushed tuition through the roof over the decades. First off, we've got rising operating costs just to keep a university running at a basic level. Then, there's this massive investment in fancy facilities and cutting-edge tech. Campuses today are basically competing in an amenities arms race that looks completely different than it did, say, 30 years ago. Throw in historical shifts and declines in public and state funding, and top it all off with a constantly growing demand for higher education. All of these escalating costs snowball, creating a massive financial gap. Because let's face it, most students simply don't have the upfront savings to pay these staggering costs out of pocket.
That brings us to Section 2, Mechanics of Student Loans, and how we're bridging that gap. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what happens when savings fall short. Student loans become the go-to vehicle to bridge that financial gap, getting the money now in exchange for paying it back later. But here's the catch. Borrowers generally face two distinct paths, and trust me, they are definitely not created equal. On one hand, you've got federal loans, which come directly from the government. On the other hand, you have private lenders, which means getting loans from private financial institutions or banks. It is absolutely crucial to understand that these two paths play by completely different rulebooks. We're talking entirely different interest rates, totally different repayment terms, and vastly different borrower protections. Knowing the fundamental mechanics of the exact loan you're taking on, that literally dictates what your financial future is going to look like.
Moving on to Section 3, the impact of interest, or what we call the multiplier effect.
I want to slow things down just a bit right here, because this right here is the absolute core mathematical engine of student debt. You see, the principal amount, the actual money you borrowed, is really only part of the story. Interest, simply put, is the cost of borrowing that money. But with student debt, it functions in a very specific, kind of sneaky way. It doesn't just get tacked on once. The real kicker is a mechanism called capitalization. Let's say your interest builds up while you're still in school or during a grace period, and it goes unpaid. Well, it doesn't just sit there patiently. It gets added directly to your principal balance. So suddenly, you are paying interest on your interest. This fundamentally alters your entire financial landscape over a long timeline. Because this interest is constantly being added, and like we said, often capitalized over many years, the final price tag catches so many people completely off guard. You aren't just paying back that original 10 grand you borrowed. Oh no. Depending on your interest rate and exactly how long it takes to pay off, you are paying back significantly more. This compounding effect is the true reality of the multiplier effect. It takes what might look like a manageable upfront cost and transforms it into a profound, decades-long financial commitment.
Which brings us to Section 4, perspectives on repayment and the ongoing national debate.
Now, it's really important to remember that the multiplier effect we just talked about doesn't mean every single borrower goes through the exact same thing. Actually, repayment is highly individualized. It depends on a bunch of factors: your income, the specific type of loan you picked, your repayment plan, and of course, your career trajectory. Some folks manage to clear their debt pretty quickly, while others end up carrying it for practically a lifetime. Because these experiences vary so wildly, we are right in the middle of a massive national debate. Supporters of this system argue that higher education is fundamentally an investment. They point out that taking on these loans drastically increases a person's lifetime earning potential, unlocking doors that would otherwise be completely shut. On the flip side, critics point squarely at those rising tuition costs and that compounding interest we talked about. They highlight the severe, sometimes totally crippling financial burden this debt creates for a huge number of borrowers. Both of these perspectives highlight undeniable, objective realities of our current system, and they are both at the absolute center of the national conversation.
So the crucial point is this. When you get right down to it, student loans are a financial tool. And like any tool, they have the incredible power to build things, to fund an education, kickstart a career, and totally change the trajectory of someone's life. But at the exact same time, they carry serious, binding, long-term responsibilities. Understanding exactly how the borrowing process works, how interest capitalization sneaks up on you, and the actual mechanics of repayment, that is absolutely essential before making these huge life decisions.
So, I want to leave you with something to really think about today. Student loans are a remarkably powerful financial tool, but are you truly prepared for the long-term responsibilities that come with them? Take a moment to reflect on your own financial literacy and how you personally approach borrowing. Because honestly, the more we understand the mechanics of these systems, the better equipped we are to navigate them successfully. If you found this explainer helpful and you enjoy these kinds of simple, structured breakdowns of money and economics, make sure to stick around for more deep dives into the financial systems that shape our daily lives. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.